Hello there, beautiful humans. Today's video is part 2 of an ongoing series on my channel, designing new, original Pikmin enemies. If you haven't already seen part 1, I sincerely urge you to check it out. Speaking of which, my channel's subscriber count tripled since I uploaded the first episode. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to all the people who were interested enough in the art that I create that they wanted to stick around and see more. It means the world to me. The theme of today's video is underground oddities. I wanted to focus on designing enemies that would only be found in caves for this installment. In the same manner as the previous video, I will show the process of turning my sketches into completed conceptual art pieces. So, without further ado, let's get started. For the first enemy of the video, we have the Threaded Murkgrab. This little guy is a sneaky, Pikmin-stealing menace that lurks in the darkness. Careful, because cave exploring just got a whole lot more dangerous. The Threaded Murkgrab's idle stance is a unique one. Instead of hiding, buried beneath the ground, or blatantly chillin' out in the open, this creature hangs suspended in a web just above the player's field of view. The only indication there is an enemy present is a faint, circular shadow dimming the floor from above. If a careless player wanders on top of the shadow, the Murkgrab will descend rapidly from its aerial hideout. Upon first encounter with the Murkgrab, the player will most likely be startled, which is my intention. I love surprises in my Pikmin games, and this guy will definitely scare some newcomers. Let's just hope the player can react quick enough to avoid any casualties. Once its hostile stance is triggered, the Threaded Murkgrab acts swiftly. The creature will snatch up 2 unfortunate Pikmin from the player's squad, if within reach of its lanky arms. Once in the Murkgrab's grasp, the Pikmin will be hoisted up into the air, off-screen, and devoured. After eating its first meal, the Murkgrab's shadow will faintly lighten as it travels to a new location a short distance away. During this time, the Murkgrab will not attack. Once it settles, the shadow will darken slightly, and the attack cycle will reset. The Murkgrab's attack radius is not limited to the small shadow on the floor. Its reach extends a set distance surrounding the shadow, in which its arms and body can lunge forward and seize its prey. If the player decides to activate the Murkgrab's attack with no Pikmin in their party, the Murkgrab will instead aim for the player's captain. If snagged, the captain will be lifted off-screen, sustain damage, and be dropped in an area a short distance away. Players must react with haste if they plan on defeating the Murkgrab. Once the creature attacks, there is a small window of vulnerability. Regardless whether the enemy is holding Pikmin or not, the player can toss Pikmin onto the creature to weigh it down. It takes a total of 15 Pikmin to snap the Murkgrab's thread and send it falling to the floor. However, the player must mash the throw button rapidly, because if not enough Pikmin are thrown onto the enemy in time, as in the 15 Pikmin weight requirement, the Murkgrab will ascend to its hideout and devour all the Pikmin currently attempting to weigh it down. This incentivizes the use of purple Pikmin, since 2 will do the job easily. Although definitely not impossible to take down without purples, the Murkgrab is a lot easier and less stressful a foe with them. Once properly weighed down, the Murkgrab will plummet to the ground in a sudden snap. Its fluorescent thread will break and lull from the ceiling a decorative neon streamer of sorts. Being grounded, The vulnerable Murkgrab is not completely helpless. It can still eat Pikmin, if not attacked immediately. Also, in the rare case that the player fells the creature and abandons the fray, the creature will crawl with its long and gangly arms in the player's direction. A slightly nightmarish visual, not all too uncommon in the world of Pikmin. Albeit eerie and startling, the Threaded Murkgrab is not incredibly powerful. Its HP is similar to that of the fiery Blowhog, being able to be taken down rather efficiently with a large Pikmin squad. The design for this enemy came from many things. In terms of visual inspirations, I wanted to draw from the Humboldt squid, a deep-sea predator with a red, angular body and long tentacles. Since the enemy resides in the murk, I wanted to grant them bioluminescent qualities. For example, the green thread that flows through its body, and its glowing green eyes and tongue. The creature's coloring ties back to the game's canon glowing substance, glowsap. Maybe this creature evolved to acquire these bioluminescent characteristics through years of consuming glowsap mounds hidden underground. Also, the Murkgrab's attack cycle was inspired by an enemy from a different game franchise I'm sure you're all well aware of, The Legend of Zelda. The specific game I'm referring to though is the Ocarina of Time. In that game, there were spider-like enemies named Skulltulas that swooped down and attacked the player when walking over their shadow. Of course, I had to Pikminify this creature completely, but the bones of the attack style are very similar. As an aside, I'm well aware of people's dislike of the Pikmin 2 style gameplay of dropping random enemies and objects from the sky as a surprise attack. While I disagree with this argument because I think it makes the game more fun and engaging, I settled for a compromise, having a shadow present at all times to indicate there's an enemy present. Technically, the Murkgrab's attack shouldn't come as a surprise after the initial encounter. However, if it does surprise the player, it's due to their lack of awareness and not by the game pulling a fast one on ya. Alrighty, so here's the finished concept art. I wanted to depict the Threaded Murkgrab mid-attack, lunging forward to try and snatch up a poor blue Pikmin. I read a few comments saying how some of my concepts were inaccurate due to the lack of blue Pikmin mistreatment, so I wanted to rectify that. Kidding, kinda. I hope you all enjoy, but please keep watching because there are many more enemies to come. But wait, before we continue, I'd like to make an announcement. I've had a personal website/shop for a couple years now with virtually no sales. So I thought what better way to give back to my subscribers and also refresh and grow my website engagement than creating merchandise of my work. Of course, I wouldn't want to infringe on any copyright laws, so my merchandise would only feature completely original content, not derivative of other works. Meaning I can't feature well-known, iconic Pikmin enemies, including designed variants of them, or the Pikmin themselves, but I can feature my original creations. I have currently designed t-shirts for the Man of the Hour of the previous video, the Threaded Murkgrab, and a couple other enemies shown off later in this video if you'd like to check them out. The link will be in my description. Thanks so much for your continued support and allowing me to take the small initial steps to starting an actual career making art and videos like this. The website is paracosmparty.com/shop. I repeat, paracosmparty.com/shop. Thanks again. Let's get back to the video, friends. Moving on to the second enemy of today's video, we have the Billiard Bug. I wanted to create something wacky and fun that made use of a treasure item in a unique way. I hope you all will adore this bug as much as I do. The idle or starting stance of the Billiard Bug is kinetic. When encountering this bug, it won't be sitting static waiting for the player to attack. Instead, it wanders around its surroundings, pushing a billiard ball around in a cute but slightly terrifying manner. The style in which the Billiard Bug rolls the pool balls is reminiscent of a dung beetle, but instead of pushing around, well, you know what dung beetles push around, the Billiard Bug happily plays with his heavy Pikmin crushing ball. Once spotted by the bug, the enemy will roll its ball towards the player at a modest pace. Make no mistake, the billiard ball is capable of crushing large amounts of your squad. Think of the armored cannon beetle larva's rock ball, but slightly larger. I chose to group the two stances together since they depict the same motion. In the shot of the billiard bug on top of the ball, it's still rolling the ball, but instead of pushing along with two legs on the floor, the bug is simply walking along the ball surface as it rotates. So we know how the billiard bug attacks the player, but how does the player attack the billiard bug? Well, one will come to find out that throwing Pikmin onto the bug won't really do anything. The Pikmin will slide off the bug's protective outer shell, in the same manner as the snoot whacker. Similarly, one may notice that the creature's underside is a darker color from the rest of the enemy's body. Wonder how we can flip it over? Well, if you thought ramming Ochi's face directly into the hard resin of a pool ball, you'd be correct. Ochi rushing the ball would knock the billiard bug over onto its back, while simultaneously sending the sphere dashing across the floor. While upside down, the billiard bug is left vulnerable and stuck. Throwing Pikmin onto its exposed underside would do the trick in defeating the enemy. However, if you want to play with a little more style, then keep on watching. Since an Ochi rush sends the pool ball flying in whatever direction you aim it in, it's possible to use the ball as a weapon of mass destruction. Once knocked over onto its back, the billiard bug will remain in that position for 10 seconds, until it will flip back over and run to the ball it was previously rolling. In that amount of time, it's possible to run to wherever the ball landed and play some bug squishing pool. Landing a direct hit onto the billiard bug will kill it instantly. Alternatively, if the bug happened to be next to a wall, it'd be possible to perform a ricochet trick shot in true billiard style. When designing this enemy, I really had a whole scenery planned out in my head. I'm a huge fan of caves with specific themes. For example, the seafloor resort in the serene shores with its awesome aquarium environment. In the same manner, I planned on featuring this enemy only in a cave themed around a club scene or bar area, or maybe even an arcade. Imagine this, you and your squad dive into a new sub-level only to land on top of a huge pool table. The player would then be greeted with a plethora of billiard bugs, all pushing around their own pool balls. Ochi rushing one ball could knock into another ball, which then could knock into another and create a super fun, minigame-esque sub-level that would just be magical. Can someone make this happen, please? Anyways, here's the finished piece. I tried my best to execute the idea I had in my head. I hope I did my billiard bugs justice. Also, the story I imagined in my head for this piece is the blue Pikmin tripping and hurting his leg, while the yellow Pikmin tells him to get up in a panic. Also, I threw in a winged Pikmin being massacred in the background for fun. Rolling into the next enemy of the video, we have the Sparkwisp. When designing the enemies for this video, I wanted to challenge myself to think outside the box. I wanted to create an enemy that doesn't necessarily prey on Pikmin, but due to its harsh nature, could be considered a threat, or possibly an ally. The Sparkwisp's idle stance is also in motion. They gently float around areas with high electric surges. Using their flower-shaped propellers, the Sparkwisp flies high in the air, only reachable with yellow and winged Pikmin. The Sparkwisp only live in areas of total darkness. These creatures bear a striking resemblance to their more well-known relative, the Honeywisp. Both are fairy-like creatures with a thin, gelatinous inner body. However, the Sparkwisp evolved to acquire a hard, glass-like outer shell, resembling that of a light bulb. It's possible that maybe somewhere along its evolutionary journey, a wisp inhabited such an encasing that eventually morphed to its body. Strange indeed, but it's Pikmin we're talking about, where a machine gun computer overtakes a harmless spider. However cute looking in this position, the Sparkwisp still has a neat trick up its sleeve. The Sparkwisp's second phase is quite illuminating, literally. Channeling an electric current through its body, the Sparkwisp takes a deep inhale through its mouth-shaped hole on its glass encasing and shines an incandescent glow to all its surroundings. A great way to spot a Sparkwisp while spelunking a cavern is to take note of flickering lights. Odds are, this electric activity will lead you straight to this energetic creature. Being out of reach of most ground predators, the Sparkwisp peacefully lives in harmony with its ecosystem. The nearby flora use the Sparkwisp artificial sunlight to grow in naturally dim and unlit areas, and nearby critters utilize the Sparkwisp glow to find their way to safety or sustenance in the harsh, dark environments of underground chambers. But that's not all. As you may have noticed, the Sparkwisp leave a curious train of electrical wires wherever they fly. At the tip of these wires, the player will find a luminous, but dangerous, live circuit. If any Pikmin other than yellows come into contact with these wires, they will be zapped and paralyzed until rescued by their captain. However, if yellow Pikmin are directed onto the current, they will band together to conduct a chain of electricity. As stated earlier, the Sparkwisp reside in areas with strong electric surges. In gameplay terms, this means they will spawn in areas where a live, uncompleted circuit is present. Think back to the caves in Pikmin 3, where the yellow Pikmin were needed to complete a light bulb circuit in order to solve a puzzle, as in growing a plant to act as a bridge. The yellow Pikmin would use the Sparkwisp in the same manner in this scenario. However, it may be more appropriate if the electric current was used to power a gate or a set of red and blue switches already present in Pikmin 4. In terms of defeating the Sparkwisp, they're more of a puzzle-based enemy to help solve an extended problem, not really for battling. However, if the player is feeling extra devious, when hovering their cursor over the Sparkwisp, there will be two lock-on options, one on its trail of wires, and the other on its bulbous body. Only yellow Pikmin can attack the Sparkwisp without being electrocuted, but once its health depletes, it will fall to the floor and shatter, much like a frozen jelly float. The player won't be able to use its carcass as sustenance, rather it will just disappear completely and reappear near the circuit. In doing so, first-time players will realize that this creature may have a different purpose than just to attack your squad. I don't see why you'd want to murder these innocent creatures, but you definitely have the option. And don't call me evil for making this feature. I mean, look at the way Nintendo handled the Mamuda. These cute, innocent little guys only had 2 appearances in Pikmin 4, and both times they held treasures, so you were forced to murder them. I'm not that villainous. This particular enemy was a fun way to reintroduce a forgotten mechanic that I adored dearly. I'm not 100% sure why Nintendo decided to omit electric circuits in Pikmin 4. I feel that would have done a lot to help balance the already seemingly underused yellow Pikmin. The main use for these voltaic little guys was just to break down electric gates, really. I mean, there are a few electric enemies like the Anodweevils or Beetles and the Bearded Amprat, but that's about it. My goal with the Sparkwisp was to find a way to not only give yellow Pikmin a unique enemy, but also give them another mechanic to help them seem more useful and asset to the squad. For the fourth enemy of the video, I wanted to do something special. In the previous video, I asked you all for enemy suggestions of what you'd like to see me design. Going forward, for these enemy design videos, I plan on choosing one subscriber's comment to make a reality. The only requirement is that you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Other than that, feel free to give me your wackiest, creative enemy designs. I can't wait to see what you all come up with. However, the comment I chose today came from user @mmx3374, which reads, Toxerhop, a small, colorful Wallyhop that is based on the poison dart frog. It has a defense mechanism where shaking Pikmin or slamming onto the ground will emit a toxic cloud, meaning you need to use whites to kill it. Well, you heard them, so let's get designing. Phase 1 of the Toxerhop is its idle stance. It sits gleefully, just chillin' by any underground waterway. However, it doesn't prefer to be completely submerged, just to feel the cool mist of the rushing fresh water. As you can see, I modeled the scale texture to replicate that of the poison dart frog, as suggested. I think decorating its legs with all the little black dots really helped give the enemy its toxic aesthetic. I also love the random, amorphous black blobs on its torso. It reminds me of an alien space cow frog thing. It's cute. I love it. What do you guys think? In the Toxerhop's second and third phase, the creature leaps into the air, hovering over any unfortunate Pikmin. If the player doesn't call their squad away from the Toxerhop's attack range in time, they'd be surely crushed. Similarly, if a Pikmin remains attacking the Toxerhop as it slams to the floor, they will be met with a wave of toxic gas. Besides white Pikmin, this toxic gas poisons all Pikmin on contact, sending them into a deadly, frenzied panic, only curable by a simple blow of the whistle. Funny how that works, but hey, I don't make the rules here, okay? I chose this enemy idea because I thought it would fit nicely into the theme of today's video, underground oddities. I'm aware that a poison variant of a Wallyhop isn't the most unique or groundbreaking idea. However, I saw a lot of potential in user MMX3374's vision, especially the way they described the color scheme resembling that of a poison dart frog. And once again, I hope that in selecting one of you all's comments to be featured in a video is recognized as my way of trying to say thanks and give back to my community. To user MMX3374, I hope I did your Toxerhop justice. And to all of you, thanks for being here, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for leaving your suggestions down below. I can't wait to read them all. Alrighty, so we've arrived at the final enemy of today's video. Just like the first episode, you know I can't end the video with just some regular old enemy. Oh no, we have another boss on our hands. This boss's name is the Sundering Soulmonger. When designing this boss, I wanted to bring back the creepy factor I felt playing the original two games as a child. I know slight horror themes and Pikmin games isn't everyone's cup of tea, but it's definitely mine. Regardless, I hope you all enjoyed the wacky idea I've came up with. So, to start off this boss, I have to give a little precursor. I wanted this boss to be foreshadowed throughout its entire cave, much like the Water Wraith. However, unlike the Water Wraith, the Soulmonger would only show up in the final floor, yet something strange would happen on each of the preceding floors to foretell a strange oddity. Firstly, the aesthetic of the cave would be different from anything ever explored in a Pikmin game. Instead of bright colors and rich detail, the cave's interior would be empty, white rooms with extremely high ceilings and piercingly cool fluorescent lights beaming from above. Of course, there'd still be slight terrain variation with treasures and enemies to keep the levels from feeling too monotonous. However, one would feel a stark change of tone when entering the Foreboding Fortress, the name I decided to give the cave itself. As most players can recall, when an enemy or one of your Pikmin die in battle, their tiny souls ascend from their bodies with a tragic cry, which alludes to the boss's other foreshadowing. Instead of the souls of the fallen fading to nothing, they will turn a bright blue color, morph into a small ball, and fly towards the ceiling with an ominous chime. That's the Soulmonger in action. So, when initially falling into the final floor, which would be a large, empty, white, circular arena, a cutscene will trigger. The Sundering Soulmonger will crawl down the wall from the ceiling, and with a strange gong-like chime, a wave of iridescent blue fog will fly directly into the two eye sockets of the Soulmonger's back. The boss claims its ultimate weapons, the souls of the dead. After absorbing the pure souls of the deceased enemies and or Pikmin, the light in the Soulmonger's eyes will shift from a pearlescent blue to a fiery red. As you near the beast with your squad, it will evade you, skittering around with rapid speed. Once it approaches a wall, the Soulmonger will scale it with ease. There, the mask on its back will darken to an ashen gray. With a devilish cry, the creature will spew out blazing smoke from its eye sockets. Once landing on the ground, the smoke will form itself into the slain enemies of the previously explored sublevels of the cave. Also, if you lost any Pikmin throughout the cave, the exact number of fallen Pikmin will show up as Shadow Pikmin. The souls of the innocent now fight like puppets for a corrupt master. The glowing red eyes on the shadow enemies are their weak spot. Trying to toss Pikmin onto any other part of the shadow enemies' bodies will be ineffective. The Pikmin will simply fall through the elusive smoke. For enemies with no visible eyes, a single red ball will glow from within the center of their smoke body, their clear vulnerability. For example, think of the water jumble. As a wise person once said, the eyes are the windows to the soul. The glowing red eyes of these fallen enemies represent their possessed and corrupted souls, so attacking them would be the only way to free them from their torment. Even though the enemies we fight in Pikmin may seem like evil creatures trying to kill our squad of innocent friends, it's really just the natural cycle of life. Life ebbs and flows, and predators kill their prey. No evil intent, just primal, insatiable hunger. Not the Soulmonger though. There's something more sinister going on there. The Soulmonger's attack cycle could be considered enemy rush waves. The first wave of enemies would be the smaller guys. For example, if you killed a total of 10 dwarf bulborbs and 10 shearwigs, they would spawn initially. During the second wave, one would encounter slightly tougher enemies. For example, 4 armored cannon beetle larvae, 3 wollyhops, and 4 types of dweevils. The third and final wave of enemies would be something like 3 Bulborbs, 2 Bulbears, 5 Water Dumples, and a Smoky Prog. A fight that's worth your money, you know? Also, the enemy numbers are just suggestions. I would have to see how it would play out in the actual game. For now, these seem good enough on paper. All the while, any Pikmin you lose during the fight with the shadow enemies will be sucked up by the Soulmonger and spewed out as shadow Pikmin that attack your captain and active squad. Between enemy waves, the Soulmonger will dismount itself from the wall where you can attack its ceramic mask. A Nochi Rush would knock the boss on its side, allowing you to pummel its protective shell. As you damage the mask, its surface will begin to form deep cracks. This boss would function more in the style of Pikmin 3's bosses, meaning it would be damage capped, having required multiple stages. The Soulmonger won't retreat onto the wall and spew more enemies until you damage its mask to the desired amount. It also won't descend the wall until all enemies from the previous wave are conquered. After defeating the third wave of enemies, the Soulmonger will dismount from its safety net on the wall and allow you to attack it once more. This time, attacking its shell will finally shatter a significant portion of its center, exposing 2 extremely large red eyes covered in sprawling, pulsing veins. Attacking these eyes will finally begin to tear away at the creature's health bar. Although completely vulnerable, the Soulmonger isn't entirely powerless in this state. It can still kill your Pikmin by running atop them and squishing them, much like the Crush Splat. And keeping with the previous attacks, the deceased Pikmin will haunt the player until you take them out for good. After defeating the Soulmonger by chasing it about the arena and attacking its giant eyes, the body of the beast will drop a treasure, presumably a castaway, and disintegrate, with the shadow version emerging from its ashes, containing an unbroken mask, and skitter off into the cave ceiling and out of sight. Well, what a fight that was. And here's the completed concept art. I hope the enemy wasn't too dark for you all. I'm a huge fan of creepy and disturbing concepts in video games, which is probably why I like The Legend of Zelda so much. I'm looking at you, Majora's Mask. Also, with a game like Pikmin so heavily featuring the cycle of life and death, it felt fitting for me to create a boss that toys with that idea. Let me know your thoughts on this boss, and if you think I'm crazy for designing it. Also, before our recap, I just want to remind you all of the shirts I have for sale on my website, paracosmparty.com. I not only made designs for the Man of the Hour and the Threaded Murkgrab, as previously stated, but also the Billiard Bug and the Sundering Soulmonger as well. It would be so amazing if you can check them out. Alrighty, so in this video we explored the Threaded Murkgrab. The Billiard Bug, the Sparkwisp, the Toxerhop, and the Sundering Soulmonger. Let me know your favorites in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment for what enemy you'd like to see me design in the next video. You are all so amazing, and the support on my last video has just made me immensely happy. I hope this video didn't disappoint, and I hope you all still look forward to the creations I have yet to share. Until next time, my beautiful humans, stay safe, and I'll leave you with my personal mantra. Okay, say it with me now. Ready? 1, 2, 3, wait, you don't know what it is? My bad, let me put it up on screen, karaoke style. Okay, no excuses now. Ready? Say it with me. I'm an oddity. And that's alright.